G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And in a few past videos I've had some requests to take a look at one of these, the CP3 Honda Accord V6. And I thought what better way to introduce one of these to my channel than by comparing it with my CL9. On the exterior front, this one here happens to have the full Mugen body kit and spoiler, and I think it is actually a fantastic looking car. This definitely highlights the fact that if you put a body kit on it, a nice looking grille, some really cool looking 18-inch Mugen wheels, and a huge spoiler and even quad exhaust on this like a WRX STI, it actually makes it look really nice. The only thing it needs is just a little bit more low. And then in the case of mine, it's a similar sort of story where it has the factory sports kit or the Modulo kit, and then I've gone and added a Flow Design slip kit as well, along with some aftermarket wheels, lowered it down a little bit, and I think overall it is a very timeless and nice looking car. The engines fitted to these two cars are really quite different. I have a K24 A3. It's a 2.4 litre inline 4, makes about 140 kilowatt and 223 newton meters from factory, and it can be paired with a 5-speed automatic, or in the case of my car, a 6-speed manual. In the case of this has a J35. It is a 3.5 litre single cam VTEC V6, makes about 202 kilowatt and 342 newton meters. And in America, you could get this with a 5-speed automatic or a 6-speed manual, but in New Zealand, unfortunately, we only get this with the 5-speed automatic, which means that this is definitely, especially given the weight of it, is set up more for smoothness, torque, and luxury, whereas the K24 in this, especially when paired with a 6-speed manual like mine, is a performance engine, I suppose you could say. In terms of the modifications, my car has some headers, an exhaust, an intake and a tune to tie all the power modifications together, and then also has Type R ratios to give it much shorter gears. This car, on the other hand, has a K&N filter and has also been tuned by KFlash NZ. He can tune pretty much any Honda under the sun, whether it be a K24 or a J35 or even an R18 or even some of the newer turbo ones as well. So if you've got a Honda and you want to give your car more power, better throttle response, better fuel consumption, all that good stuff, then hit him up via the link in the description or somewhere over here. The interior of the CP3 is basically just a big CU2. All the buttons are basically in exactly the same place. They all look the same and feel the same. The interior build quality is good, but my only complaint with these is that I feel like for some reason the CL9 and CU2 feel less plasticky on the inside, whereas this, the entire dashboard, while it looks alright, it is, you know, scratchy plastic. But that said, in general, it is a very comfortable, very well equipped car. And for the price you can get these for, it's going to give you pretty much all the features you could ever need besides maybe Bluetooth, although in the case of this one, the owner has put in an aftermarket head unit down here. The interior of the CL9 is lovely, and to this day it is still one of my favourite interiors. Like I said before, it somehow gets away from that plasticky feel. Maybe it's because they use this more sort of soft touch material on most of the dashboard rather than the hard scratchy stuff, but for some reason, even though it's certainly not the most interesting looking interior, it just feels a lot nicer than even that one, which is the newer V6. And for some reason, I don't understand why the interior doesn't feel that great in that car, but this one has a much nicer feeling 3-spoke leather steering wheel with all the same buttons and features and everything. The gauges are a lot more interesting. They have a few more colors showing and that kind of stuff, which is really nice. And then all the buttons down here, to me, they're just a bit more logically laid out. You have your stereo on the top, all the climate control down the bottom, whereas if you didn't put an aftermarket stereo in that one, the buttons are just all over the place in that car. And then of course you have a lovely 6-speed manual transmission. If that car had a manual too, that would just be glorious. But the least we can do is take that one for a drive and see how the mighty V6 goes. Alrighty, driving the V6 Accord. One thing's for sure, the 3.5 litre is a much stronger unit than the 3 litre that was in the old one. This is a punchy car. It's really good power, good torque as well, great noise. But this is a very heavy car. It probably weighs nearly 2 tons. And while it does really go, you can feel that it is a hefty beast. But I do really like it though. And the transmission performance I've actually been quite surprised by. If you just put it in D, mate, it's an absolute slush box as you would expect. But when you get it out on the open road a bit, you know, you put your foot down and it kind of goes, whoa, it doesn't surge, it has a nice kick to it. Absolutely, I would have this over a stock CM6, which is the old shape with the 3-litre V6. This is just a better car without question. But as to whether I would have it over my manual modified CL9, you see, if this was like way more comfortable and way quieter and smoother and was just a much better open road car, then yeah, but it isn't. The CL9 is just as good as this, really. It's not, this to me doesn't feel any quieter, but with mods, a K24 can feel as fast because the CL9 is obviously a lot lighter, and you can have it with a manual, because that's the other big sort of cross against this, is that, you know, no manual is disappointing. Obviously in the US it's a different... Oh. Well, the car's just fallen to bits. While I think the automatic is good, hey, this car with a manual and a few mods would be a glorious car. But without the manual and that really long second gear, I think I'd be having my CL9, frankly, and it doesn't handle as well. This thing understeers big time, man. It's got a big heavy V6 up the front. Steering feels not as good, but I mean, what do you expect, right? You know, it was never really designed to be a sports car. I'm driving this thing way harder than it should be driven. But that V6 though, what a fantastic engine. Jumping back in the CL9 again after driving the newer CP3, because New Zealand is one of the unique markets where we have both the V6 and the Euro being sold at the same time. In other markets they were either known by different names or weren't available at all. There are a lot of people out there who are probably cross-shopping all four of these cars, the 7th and 8th gen Euro and V6. And if I were to rank them from worst to best, CM6 is the worst, then the CP3, and very close in second place is the CU2. The CP3 and CU2 are both great cars in their own right. The CU2 just has better steering feel and better transmission performance and a nicer interior, but the CP3 has a better engine. But then to me, still the top of the line, you just can't beat it, the CL9. Oh, the fact that it's available with a manual, has the most tunable engine, has the best steering feel, the best response, it's the most fun to drive, and yet is still comfortable, mate. I just drove this thing all the way to Auckland to film that video and a few others that you'll see in the coming weeks, and I got out and I was absolutely fine. So there we go. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Kiwi Car Life, and I will look forward to seeing you again next time.